to the first meeting of 2022 for the Midtown Ventura Community Council. We have some new faces attending tonight, and if you live in the Midtown Ventura or own a business, we encourage you to join our membership. There's no cost to join, and you'll receive our monthly newsletter. Eric, can I ask you a favor? Can you put a link to it, please, in our comment in the chat section, so if people want to sign up, we appreciate it. We have lots of ground to cover tonight, but I want to remind folks that we treat all of our guests with dignity and respect. You have an opportunity to ask questions after the speakers completed their presentation, so please submit your questions in the chat. For mine, it's on the right. I'm not sure where everybody else has theirs, and I'll read them once the speaker is finished. And as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube page so you can share it with your friends or other residents that are concerned. We ask you to turn off your microphone so that we can better hear the speaker. So leading off the meeting tonight is an update from the Ventura Police Department. We've heard from several residents about they're concerned about the uptick in graffiti the last couple months. So Commander Derrick Brunk, he's joined by Corporal, I'm gonna butcher your name, is Wojnarowski. Was I close? Who is part of the graffiti investigative unit. They will explain how the department responds to graffiti incidents and talk about what's going on in Midtown. So please take it away.
I'm going to let Jeff go ahead and kind of explain the program for you a little bit, and then we can answer any questions that you have. So Jeff, go ahead.
All right, so the graffiti task force, we pretty much are going to handle anything that we have obviously a good lead on or an identified person. I know that it's difficult to get a lot of these people identified, especially when they're doing these things and they don't get caught. But if it's reported and it gets documented, then we might have something.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Please mute yourself. Someone just came on. Please mute anybody's mics so we don't interrupt the speaker.
So basically, if we do get somebody identified with a specific tag, we work with the City of Ventura's Public Works Department and their graffiti removal unit, who documents every incident that they do respond to. And when they do go out and they do the graffiti removal, they're taking photographs, they're documenting what's tagged out there, and we can use that information to pretty much build a case on an individual. I know that a lot of you in Midtown are probably familiar with seeing the word lurk, L-E-R-K, tagged all over the place. We recently did work up a case on that individual who's currently in custody at the Todd Road Jail. Ultimately, it's very difficult though without getting these people identified. So if it's seen in progress, anyone's encouraged to immediately report that by calling 911 so that officers can get out there and hopefully get somebody detained and begin a investigation on the street. Once we do get all that information from Public Works, we have photographs, we have times and dates that it was removed, and we can compile all that, like I was saying, into a large case. That individual lurk, we did have 207 cases on that guy, and that did not include any of the Caltrans property around the area. However, some of those we had to kind of toss out due to the fact that they weren't within the statute of limitations. We had gone back on that individual about 3 years, and we were able to compile about 5 felonies and about 91 misdemeanor cases on that guy. And what really came down to getting him was there was a vigilant resident in the area who saw him one day tagging and was willing to come in and identify him. Also, officers responded to another incident where he was tagging and he got caught, I guess, red-handed, if you will. So we were able to put all that together and get that guy. Also, people can also call, the tip line if they do get word of a particular individual that's out there doing the graffiti, and we can work with that and investigate it as best we can to try and build up a case on that person. For some information in regards to the graffiti hotline, if people don't have it, it's 1-805-654-7805. And that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You call it, you leave a message, and they'll get out there to try and remove that graffiti within a 48-hour time period. Also, you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS and leave any tips that could give us some information to investigate those cases there. And if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer those for you now.
Okay, no, so far, no questions. If people want to put it, please put it into the chat. Let me just ask a question. When do you find that most of these taggers are doing their work? Is it during the night?
I would say it's mostly at night. In my experience, I've worked for the Ventura Police Department for 16 years, and about 9 of that has been in patrol. And whenever I've responded to any type of graffiti in progress, it's generally been at night. I'd say 80% of the time. So they're out and they find areas that have large exposed walls usually, and take their liberty to go mess it up for everybody else and make the neighborhood look kind of cruddy in that sense. But nighttime, I know it's hard. A lot of people aren't out at night, but there are some people that are out and do report it, and hopefully we can get there in time to get them at least detained and go from there.
Okay, we've got a couple questions that come in from Glenn. And the question was, what proactively is the police department doing? Are there cameras, or are you relying on citizens only?
Officers are out there, driving around all day. If they come across it, they're gonna engage with that individual and hopefully, deal with it appropriately and take the right enforcement action. As far as us getting out there, my partner and we're gonna work on the bigger cases, such as the lurk individual. I know that obvious is another one that people see, OVIUS or VOTS, which is VOTS. I'm sure a lot of people saw Zorro. Zorro was another person who was fortunately out tagging and got caught by the highway patrol while they were driving on the freeway, and they saw the guy and were able to get him in custody. However, he was a juvenile, so that case I think is still pending in the courts. It looks like the lurk guy is going to be going to sentencing here in February. So it's difficult, but we're out there. If we see it, we'll deal with it.
43 people.
Okay, so continuing on, Sheree suggested for folks putting the graffiti hotline in your phone. It's convenient, and she calls it a few times a week. David, it was asking about the Arundel Bronca. Do you know anything or about in regards to that?
Kind of like the wash area that runs there. I know that is actually, it's a county thing, which is the Ventura County Watershed Protection District. I do know somebody over there, and I could contact them and see if they could get somebody in there to deal with that. I do know there's a couple gentlemen on the east end of town that take it upon themselves to go out and purchase a variety of color of paints, and when they just happen to be driving down the road, they get in there and also do some graffiti removal. But I can contact someone I know with the Watershed Protection District and see if we can get that cleaned up over in there.
Great. And then Dan asked, he's curious about the age of lurk. And can you give us the numbers again, and we'll put it in the chat line for the graffiti removal?
He is an adult, early 20s.
Okay. And can we get we'll get the graffiti hotline number again, and we'll make sure we share it. 650.
It's 654.
Okay, wasn't even close. Okay.
7805.
Okay.
And you can also send an email to graffiti@ci.ventura.ca.us.
I hope I'm right on that one. Okay, we will definitely get that into line. Now, Shree's asking, are these individuals or gangs that are doing this, and or is it just random stuff?
Gang graffiti is generally not really taking place in the Midtown area. You're going to see more of that kind of in the Montalvo area, the Ventura Avenue area. A lot of the stuff that's going on in the Midtown area is pretty much just taggers, as we refer to them. They're not gang members, but it is kind of a lifestyle thing that some individuals partake in. I'd say they probably get some kind of adrenaline rush out of doing it, and they kind of go out and make a name for themselves. They'll do it anywhere. It's kind of like a dog peeing on a tree in a sense, and kind of marking their territory, like I'm here. So you'll see some other people come out if they're kind of like don't like each other or something like that, and they'll paint over the other guy's tag. So it's kind of way they communicate with each other. But with basic taggers, I'd say they're not, don't have any history of like violence, but it could get violent with gang tagging. But I would say that our gang problem is not very, very bad, and it could be a lot worse than some other communities within the state. So
Okay, and then the other, Glenn wanted a follow-up question was, and maybe this is for Commander Brunk, does the department need funding to pay for an undercover vehicle with a camera? Basically, I guess, I guess I'm assuming stakeouts and things, or is that just not possible?
As far as like providing money for the police department, I think the police department will always take money. That would have to go through the chief, of course, but no, one of the things that Jeff and his partner have actually tossed around, especially when they were looking for lurk, was actually using some of the nighttime surveillance equipment that we do have to kind of set it up. Again, these, they're kind of hit and miss on where these things happened. So there are some general areas where we can stake out, and we do. But anytime someone wants to provide funding for the police department, I'll send them over to the chief, and he'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with you. So.
Okay, that sounds great. And then I think the last question from Robert is, what is the likely sentence for a person convicted of graffiti?
Well, given the current state of how the jail and the court systems are functioning, I would say to most people that would desire a stiff punishment, that is not likely going to happen. In my conversations with the district attorney regarding lurk, to be honest and frank, it looks like he's probably going to end up pleading out to 1 misdemeanor and 1 felony. I can't say exactly what kind of time he'll get, but I would guesstimate he would be sentenced to at least 1 year. However, the way the courts and the jail functions is that time is served at half time. So he would spend 6 months actually in custody and then be released on a formal probation, which if he violates his terms while on probation, he could spend more time in custody. So that's kind of going to depend on his behaviors when he is released on probation, and his probation term, I would say, would probably be a minimum of 3 years. So ultimately, I mean, if you read the penal code, and on the far end of things, he could spend 15 years in prison for committing these crimes. But today, that's not going to happen this day and age. We can only hope that he learns from it and is responsible for it. He'll also probably be ordered to pay some type of restitution, which I think the total on the cases that we had filed was in the ballpark of around $38,000 that the city had to pay to remove the graffiti over that period of time. And that's also not including the other 113 or so cases that we were unable to get filed due to the statute of limitations.
Well, thank you so much. I know there's a few other questions to follow up, but I think you covered it. So they'll try to get restitution from them. That's the hope, if they can pay it, and then and go from there, right? And then they'll be on hopefully stricter terms, obviously.
Hopefully there's a curfew or something like that in his probation terms that doesn't allow him to be out under the hours of darkness. And I think that could help prevent him from continuing the behavior once he is out on probation.
And he can't enter Lowe's or any other hardware store, right? Something of that sort. So
right.
So
right.
anyways,
Any place that sells spray paint or other paint supplies.
Exactly. So, well, great. Commander Brunk, you have anything else to add for tonight?
No. No, like Corporal Wojnarowski just said, if you do see anything, please call us. We do actively investigate these cases, even though they're difficult to do so. One of the things that Jeff didn't talk about was the fact that our school resource officers are also a great source of information on this. These taggers typically tend to tag their own property with the tags that they use. And often, some of these people are still in high school, even in college. So those are it's another valuable resource that we use to help identify these people. So other than that, no, thank you for having us. And I hope we answered some questions for everyone.
Great, thank you. And we'll see you in February. Appreciate both of you stopping by tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next guest coming up. It's been nearly a year since we've seen our next guest, Barry Zimmerman, who's the director of the Ventura County Healthcare Agency. He attended our meetings last year to give us updates on what's going on COVID-19 during the early months of the pandemic. Well, as the Omicron variant has taken hold in Ventura County and across the United States, we asked Mr. Zimmerman to come back and give us an update on where people can get tested, when they should get tested, and what self-care they should do if they contract the highly contagious variant. Barry, I think I saw you. If you can take it away, appreciate it.
You did. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I'll address those questions that you have, and I'll just lay some context of where we are in COVID currently. It's moving very rapidly. The caseload is growing extremely fast and multiplying, and I just wanted to give you some contrast where we're at and what we're trying to do to keep pace with it. So the case rate that we monitor is the number of cases, the number of individuals who are infected, and we measure that on a per 100,000 is the way it does on a per capita 100,000. So our current case rate is 219. So 219 individuals per 100,000 is our daily infection rate. To give you a contrast, in mid-December, we were at 13. So we've gone in December to date, we went from 13 to 219. So that just tells you the acceleration of the Omicron variant, and it's extremely contagious at this point in time. And universally, everyone may be impacted by it one way or the other, either through close contact or by actually getting it. Of those who've been tested, 1/4, about 25% are positive is our rate of testing. We have even though testing is hard to come by, if some people have tried to get it, we are at a high volume. We're the third largest volume county in Southern California as far as going. So we have pretty good access, and we are testing a lot of people. One of the contexts I wanted to give you why this is so concerning, even though that, as you've seen in the news and so forth, that this variant is less severe than the Delta variant. It is equivalent to the COVID when it first started, but it is less severe than the Delta variant. However, since so many people are being infected by population, that then more critical people will end up in the hospital anyway. So as of this morning, all the hospitals had 304 individuals that were COVID positive in there, and 54 in the ICU. As comparison, on December 6th, we only had 45 people across the entire county in the hospital that were COVID positive. So that's the growth rate. There's some modeling out there showing in the next 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks, that this may peak, and that our hospitalizations in some models on the extreme may double beyond that. Our highest point last year in the hospital system was that we reached our peak last year at 449 COVID positive patients in the hospitals. So you can see that there is that we're on pace to achieve that. The compounding factor from last year to this year is our concern in the whole issue of why we encourage vaccines, mask wearing, is to prevent severe cases in the hospital. Because once we hit a tipping point, it makes it very hard to care for everyone that needs hospital care. Currently, our census in the hospitals are extremely high for non-COVID activities, as where last year our census was low. And so when COVID came in, we were able to absorb that fairly well. So as of this morning, our total census across the county is about 90% of where we were at the highest peak last year. So what that means is that the capacity and constraints are getting high. In addition, COVID has impacted the staffing in the hospital significantly. We have many nurses and other individuals that are out due to COVID, either exposed or having it as a COVID positive. And so therefore bed capacity, and this is unique, not unique to the county hospital. I was on a call today with all the hospitals. This is across the entire system that they're struggling on getting staff in order to staff the beds to admit individuals. Based on that, we have on average throughout the county 45 individuals that are sitting in emergency rooms waiting for beds to be admitted, as we say, upstairs. So that is an extremely high number. Last week, we had every single ambulance tied up and in the hospitals waiting to offload individuals because we were so backed up with individuals in the system. So I just paint that picture that although there's hope and positivity of the severity that we hear about, the consequences are significant in the healthcare arena right now. So that just gives you just an idea of it. So what do we do about that here? So for the public, what we encourage individuals to be tested, to wear masks, and to get vaccinated. Not only vaccinated, but boosted at that rate. We do know that those that receive full vaccines and that are boosted have about a 98% success rate in preventing death, where if individuals unvaccinated are 16 times more likely to suffer consequences and death if they end up in the hospital. So it is a stark difference there. So the number one prevention we could do is vaccination to save lives and save critical care. In addition to that, those that are vaccinated, even though there's about a 20% chance of a breakthrough case associated with it, the viral load associated with a vaccinated individual is much less than someone unvaccinated. So therefore, there's protection around them if you say if they're vaccinated. So the guidance is that those individuals that have been directly exposed to a known positive individual should be tested. The incubation period usually for COVID is 2 days before symptoms are shown, and up to 3 days after is the most contagious time period. So that's the window that we would suggest someone to be tested, is if you have signs of symptoms, which are flu-like symptoms, or have been exposed to someone that's positive, meaning that you've been in close contact with them for an extended period of time, 15 minutes or more in close contact without masks on, would definitely mean you're exposed and you should be tested. We do have testing. We have 14 different testing locations throughout the county. We recognize that the surge was happening. We've been working with our vendors as well as the state in expanding the capacity of all our testing locations. But as you know, supply chains are hampering some of that, as well as resources in staff. We've had some testing locations having to shut down because the staff have become infected, and then other staff to be in place. The proposal is that the state has authorized us additional testing capacity and staff in order to increase the number of days and hours of our current sites. So like, for example, Ventura, we have the Ventura Unified School District has a location. The Fairgrounds has a location as well. We have day locations at at the adult school there on Valentine Road, as well as in the community park. All those are slated with staffing as we get them over the next week or so to expand their days of testing as well as hours of operations. In addition, we should be getting 10 new mobile units that will have day sites throughout. So for example, we're targeting like a day at Buena High School and so forth to expand testing. In addition, we have finalized staffing and a contract to open up 2 mass drive-through sites, similar to the fairgrounds when we had it was a walk-in site. These would be drive-through sites. We had one early on at Ventura College. These 2 sites, one will be in Oxnard, one will be at Moorpark College, and they'll be able to do about 1,250 tests per day in a drive-through fashion. And that should start a soft launch this coming Tuesday with a full schedule starting Wednesday this coming week. The one in Oxnard will be what's known off of Vanguard Avenue. It's Rose and Vanguard is a county-owned building, and a large parking lot there is where that will be set up for anyone to go to. The other things that the question I had was prevention and how to if you do get sick, the best way is to you can take over-the-counter medications, liquid, and rest, and isolate from others as best as possible would be it to manage the symptoms and the flu-like environment that one finds themselves. If an individual, we have found in many cases, individual family members, some are COVID positive and some never get it. That's a mystery a little bit on that. We don't know if they're asymptomatic or what is the causation on that. We do know that there are immunocompromised and other people and family members just don't want to spread it. The best way to remedy that is that actually to have individuals wear masks within their living environment until a certain time period goes by, which is more than likely nowadays the recommendation is 5 days. If symptoms are subsiding at 5 days and you test negative, then you are more likely able to resume indoor with your family situations as normal moving forward. Outdoors is still recommended that you interact with the public, you wear a mask for protection in that regard. So those are kind of some of it. There are therapeutics coming out There's some monoclonal antibodies that are good against Omicron. There's one type that is. There's some other medications that have been authorized that are in pill form. Right now, they are in very small supply. And so, like, for example, we only received 90 doses, 90 treatment for the week for the entire county as we distribute to all the hospitals. So that is not an intervention that can be widely used at this point in time, but we hope in the spring and the summer as this virus hopefully becomes endemic in the sense that it becomes out of a pandemic situation, it becomes a normal course virus in the community, that we will have preventative medications to work on going forward. So that kind of gives you just a little status of where we're at and what we're doing and some of the severity of it. The predictions right now on the Omicron virus, as well as where we're headed, is that this should be an extremely sharp upward curve. And we're seeing that now, and we will see this break our records from the prior highs. And then it should, if predictions are, should drop at a rapid rate. However, we're dealing with such large numbers that will have a significant impact until we reduce. The models right now predict that it will peak towards the end of January, and the hospitals will be in the end of January to February will be our peak time period before, if it peaks out, that's when we hope the best optimistic goal we would have. So that's kind of it. Greg, anything else you want me to cover?
Well, we've got some questions,
Sure.
I encourage people to put questions in the chat. We'll start going at them. There's just a couple right now. Vincent was asking, how's our rate compare to the other cities and counties? Not that COVID has a you know, what I mean, crosses borders easily, but are we looking, how do we compare against neighboring counties as far as infection rates?
Yeah, so our infection rate is high. We're about up to the state average. So right now we're lower than at Los Angeles, and we're a little bit higher than Santa Barbara. So Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego is what I look at. They're all significantly higher. So we're at about 219 per 100,000. They're up around 260 to 300 right now is what it works. We do trend, I hate to say that, we do trend a little bit behind, lag in time behind Los Angeles County because it's such a fluid proximity between us two that we seem to trail a little bit that way. This last surge that we've been going through, though, we've always been a little bit lower than Los Angeles, so we hope we don't peak dissimilar as Los Angeles at this point. We do, as far as testing and intervention and vaccination rates, we are one of the highest counties in Southern California in compliance there.
Okay, and then how a question was asked, where can we get the schedule for testing? Is it on the Code County website? Is that the
Yeah,
best
so
bet?
it's VenturaCountyRecovers.org is where all the information is, and it does update daily on that. And since we are updating testing sites on when we get staff in, that is the location where you should go to get the latest information.
Okay, and then Barry, I have a question. It's probably not the most pleasant question, but you know, I've been reading things about issues of threats and things towards public health issues. Are we seeing any of that here, or has that been elsewhere?
We haven't, probably not to the spectacular, like elsewhere. They've shown the threats, very overt threats. We've had a lot of disconcerting contact with some of our public health officials that have been investigated through the DA's office and so forth. So there's a lot of opinions out there, and they're expressed harshly. But no overt threats at this point in time, and we hope that's not the case.
Well, great. Well, as Dan said, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I don't know how you're sleeping. I really don't, considering everything that's going on. So
Well, I appreciate your support, and hopefully this was informative for you. And if you need me back, I'll be more than welcome to come back.
always, we appreciate it. And we'll use you sparingly. Unfortunately, we had to bring you back from retirement this month.
No worries. I can't believe it's been a year already.
I know. So thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Great. Now, coming to Midtown Ventura soon will be the new Ventura Music Hall that is opening in the former Discovery Ventura on Thompson Boulevard. Thomas Cussins of Ineffable Music bought the building, is in the middle of converting it into a dedicated music venue. And he could soon, sounds like he could be a Midtown resident here soon. He's going to give us an update on the progress, when it might open. And I'm actually interested in see who might be coming through there. So Thomas, I saw you. Can you take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everybody. Nice to be back on with you all. And so, yeah, we're very, very excited. The construction has been underway with the good folks at New Line. And essentially what's been happening right now is we put 2 caissons into the ground to remove 2 tie rods that were going across the middle of the building that kind of get in the way of being able to see an artist perform in that sort of intimate setting that we're looking for. So that was the biggest construction piece. Other than that, was really just removing the bowling alley and opening it up so that you could kind of have dinner and a show, and but not have a bad view from anywhere. So yeah, it's very small bits and pieces to be done, and then we'll be ready to go March 22nd. And we are in the midst of programming, despite some hiccups with COVID. We're programming a very diverse lineup of really high-end talent. So on the confirmed side, I'm going to give you some advanced information here. So we have artists like Marty Stewart, country bluegrass artist, Lee Fields and the Expressions, kind of like a 1960s soul musician. Also in the soul world, Monophonics, really, really fun show. We've got Gary Newman of Cars fame, Hot Chip, it's an indie rock band, and G Love will be opening up the venue, kind of like a soft opening for us on the 22nd. We are working on a kind of an invite only to everybody in the neighborhood, a show with an Americana artist right now that I hope to be sending out via our email list, which is now available on our website, venturamusichall.com. So we're going to send out an invite only to come and like meet everybody, meet all the employees. We're hiring a lot of local employees right now and going through that process. And very excited about all that. Yeah, and we have we're going to have our kitchen rolling. It'll be a simple, very kind of down home barbecue menu is the vibe we're going for. The thought process is to be very comfortable and something you could just kind of come home from work and you could walk over to the venue and enjoy a show and have some easy food and not have it be a whole to do. So I'm also in the middle of remodeling the parking lot. I'm adding 20 additional spaces. That's a pretty intensive process, but it's we just had it surveyed, and those plans are being drawn up to add those additional parking spots. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, so we've been doing all sorts of testing, and we've had an amazing response so far. And I thank you all, everybody here. And we're just really excited to get open. And I've had so many shows and concerts sort of cancel or postpone in the past 2 years. So I just really can't wait to be able to gather together again and everybody feel safe. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. I'm here to answer any questions, and yeah, look forward to meeting a lot of you in person as soon as we can.
Well, okay, Thomas, there's a few questions that started to pop up. We in Midtown love our local beer scene. Ventura Coast, Topa Topa, Leafless, Midwest, and Seaward. What's your plans for local brews? This could make or break you right now.
Yeah, I want them all. I mean, I'm not an alcohol guy. I'm a music guy. But the bar manager is going to be curating a good local scene. I will definitely have Flying Embers in there though, because that's a great Ventura company that has been supporting music for a long time. And I've grown to become very close friends with them in the kombucha space. But yeah, so of course all the local beers, the Ventura Spirits folks were in recently. So we've been meeting everybody, and that's going to be definitely to your liking.
Great. And then Donna asked, what is the venue capacity?
So it's 630. So the general in general with these sorts of events, the majority of them are kind of in the 300 people range. That's where we sort of see your average. So there's a couple outliers when people, the bigger shows, there's a couple smaller ones, you get the local shows at 100, 200 people, but 300 is the normal situation. So the idea is, the venue opens up after work hours, really. People come in for dinner, you watch a show, maybe there's a support band, then the artist, so it's just a nice evening. But yeah, so there's a range of different configurations, some where it's fully seated and then it's just a couple hundred, and then some where it's a mixture of seating and general admission.
Okay, the next ones are coming in kind of a 2-for-1 question on this one. What sound mitigation measures have been taken? I know you talked about that last time. And will the second soundproofing doors on the front entry plans coming along to help shield the music on Thompson?
Yeah, so it's a great question. This was obviously a major point that we wanted to be able to hit coming into the building. So first and foremost, there is a second door now at the front. So when somebody walks in the front door, you're not just automatically sucking out any noise onto Thompson. That blocks that there. We also have had done up by Rose Brand, who's the industry leading kind of curtain company. They've done a synthetic velour, which is the best on the market for sound, soundproofing. It's going to go across the full window on Thompson. So during any live amplified music, that is going to be closed. We're also not, the side door becomes an emergency exit during any amplified music. So the idea is, but those are actually, they pale in comparison to the real way you mitigate sound is to have really high quality sound, because high quality sound doesn't mean loud sound. So the D&B line array system that we purchased, which is state of the art, you can see it at the Greek Theater in LA, but this is a much, it's just less boxes. We found a way to engineer it so that it can be on top of hanging off the ceiling, pointing down, right? As opposed to previously, it was mounted across a metal truss shooting out. There was also subwoofers mounted up in the air previously that were just shooting directly across Thompson, which is not how you're supposed to engineer a room for sound. So we're going to have some testing that will be undertaken at the end of February, beginning of March, and it'll be great because when you test it in an empty room, it's a lot louder because it bounces off. So getting some tests like that will really help us to get a high level, and then as we put people into the room, they absorb it because the sound will just be going right down onto the people instead of shooting out at Thompson. I hope that helps. Those are the main sound mitigation techniques. And I think it's just with this high quality equipment, it's just a lot more easy to control where the sound is. So if anyone wants to have a super detailed, nerdy chat with me about specific equipment, I'm happy to do that offline.
You love that all day long. Maybe over a microbrew or something. So the next one is what's the range of ticket prices, and will there be a required drink food minimum?
That's an absolute no to required drink food minimum. Obviously we want to provide those, but it's not. We're in the business of presenting high quality concerts, not in the, food and beverage are separate to me. I really just care about great live music and community experiences. So the range of ticket prices will be everything from the occasional free event to we want to get some real nice underplays. There's a couple that I'm working on where the ticket, in order to bring in the size of band in a small room, the ticket price creeps up to the 70s and 80s. But your average show is going to be in the sort of $15 to $30 range for a ticket. So a couple things with that. We're doing a community fee. $1 of every ticket is going to go to a different community organization. The first organization is the Ventura Music Festival, and we've had some great conversations with them and really just appreciate what they're doing for culture in Ventura. So the first 3 months of concerts, the community fee is going to them, and very open to hearing about any other community organizations that could benefit from this in other cities. We've worked with the music department at high schools and food kitchens, emergency responders, etc. So as we meet more of you, and we'd love to hear ideas for that. Additionally, the tickets, they're available online, but once we are open, we will also have them at the bar available without fees. So that's another question, I'm sure.
Yep, and I think that's it. Is there anybody else have any other questions to send our way? Yeah, so Vincent's asking, who can we contact about charitable events?
Because you don't need to be thinking about it, you just need to wear it. It's gonna blow it out of the water.
Sorry about that. I was trying to silence.
Kelly, I think you have your mute yourself, please.
So I'll put my email here in the chat, and you can reach out to me about any charitable events. I can also direct anybody to either the bar manager, as I see here, or to the booking team that does the talent buying. So yeah, our background is working for major agencies. So we work directly with the top talent agencies.
We lost you.
No, we still have them.
Oh.
Thomas, you're good.
So I'll share my email, and love to hear from anybody, specific questions, concerns, or to be directed in any category. If anybody is, we are hiring now, and so we're conducting interviews for sound technicians, for bartenders, for hospitality staff, door staff, ushers. So these sorts of jobs, it could be really fun second job, or for for if you got kids back from college, or you just want part-time, something for a good time. So yeah, we're really excited, and I can't thank you all enough. The community support and responses I've gotten have been so phenomenal. Like, I've just really fallen in love with the city. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, I literally just put in an offer on a house in Midtown because I've just, I was looking at everywhere else. I was looking on the avenue, looking everywhere, but I had to do Midtown. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be right there with you, and make sure that we can open in a way that is enjoyable for everybody in the community.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming tonight, and look forward to becoming a local.
Thanks, Greg.
Good luck to you. So, okay. So a few weeks ago, you probably received a small plastic container on your front porch with a note saying, starting on January 1st, you need to start recycling food waste. While the practice is new to us, it's been going on for years in cities such as San Francisco and Portland. Tonight, the City of Ventura is going to join us to give us an update on it. It's Brandon Kaysen, but I don't see him. Is somebody else pinch hitting for him?
It's actually me. I'm Kelsey Hammond. I'm with
Okay, Kelsey, thank you. I appreciate it. I figured that. I didn't see him.
Yeah. I have a short presentation. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Please do.
Great. I think I might need.
I'm sorry, just make sure you send it back to us when you get off.
Oh, yeah. I think I need someone to enable screen sharing permissions for me.
Hang on just a second. Let me get you going. Advanced screen options. Let me take it to you. Okay, go ahead. I think you should be able to do it now.
Yeah, here we go.
Hopefully.
Let's share. Oh, this is way back. Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Okay, great.
All right, can everyone see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Kelsey Hammond. I work for the city's Division of Environmental Sustainability. That's under the Public Works Department. And hopefully most, if not all of you, should have received your small plastic kitchen compost pails. So that's part of the city's new food waste recycling program. I'm going to go over a little bit today about the law, the why we have to do this program, the importance of it, and what it means for our city. We will have some time at the end for questions, so you can also put them on the chat and we'll read them out at the end as well. So the big law here is SB 1383. It was signed into law by Governor Brown in 2016. It establishes emission reductions targets for short-lived climate pollutants in various sectors of California's economy. So to achieve these emissions targets, the law also establishes a statewide goal of 75% reduction in landfill organic waste by 2025, which will be achieved by prescriptive actions, including expanding organic waste collection programs. And there's also another interesting component, which is there's an added increase of 20% edible food recovery across the state by 2025 with this law. It's the first law of its kind to do something like that. So what is organic waste? Organic waste includes food scraps, any type of lumber or yard waste, and also paper and any type of paper products you might use. So there are already collection programs for these materials in some capacity. So SB 1383 really expands the collection capacity and practices throughout our city of these materials. And one thing really quick to note, when we're talking about organic waste here, organic waste in the waste diversion and recycling industry is a lot different than the farming or what you might buy at a grocery store. So organic waste just means, it's a wide variety of materials here. But in farming, it might mean more, you don't use chemicals or pesticides in order to produce some produce. So 2 different terms, just to clarify quickly. All right, so before we get into full details of the program, I want to talk a little bit more about the regulations. So SB 1383 will reduce short-lived climate pollutants by requiring mandatory organic waste collection programs to keep organic waste out of our landfill. The task of reducing organic waste to the landfill is important because organic waste comprises 2/3 of our waste stream. And food waste alone is the largest waste stream in California. This is a really big problem because landfilling organic waste leads to the anaerobic breakdown of that material, which creates a powerful greenhouse gas called methane. Methane is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year horizon. So as we look at tackling the causes and reducing the impacts of climate change, targeting methane emissions is a really important step. Another thing I'd like to highlight here is SB 1383 has a big food recovery component, and that can help our local community because many people are food insecure. So as of 2019, a study showed that Ventura County residents, 7.8% were food insecure. That means they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so this law can help redirect food that would otherwise be thrown away. And that's not like half-eaten food, like a half-eaten sandwich that you need to save. It's, perfectly edible food that wasn't able to be sold or just didn't, fell through the cracks in the supply chain. So this component of the regulation elevates the bill to one of the most progressive pieces of waste legislation in the world. So it really raises the bar for other cities, states, and countries to do better. All right, so SB 1383 will, it starts January 1st, 2020. So hopefully many of you will have already received your pail and you're already starting to separate out your food waste. So this will look a little bit different for single family homes versus multifamily homes. Single family homes already have a yard waste barrel. So what you can do is separate your food waste into a separate container. It'll need to go into a bag. So you can add a bag or a liner to the kitchen pail that we provided. And then once you fill that up with your kitchen scraps and food waste, you can tie it off and place it in your existing yard waste container. For multifamily residents, it's going to look a little different. They might not have a yard waste bin on site. And so they'll have to the property managers will work with EJ Harrison to set up a separate food waste cart, and then they can still bag their food waste and just add it to the food waste cart. All right, next. So let's see. So when we say collecting it in your kitchen, you can see here we have the pail and there's a liner. So you'll separate it out from your trash and recyclables in your kitchen. That's just one method. If you also choose, you can keep a bag in your freezer and add food scraps there. And then when you're ready, you just tie off that bag and put it in your yard waste bin. Whatever method works best for you. And if anyone else also needs a countertop pail still, you can reach out to me at the end of the presentation. We'll organize delivery. All right, so what goes in your yard waste container? So loose inside is still all the same materials. It's a Spanish version we have. Leaves, grass, wood, small branches, yard trimmings. Just noted not accepted: utensils, glass, napkins, ice, plant, palm, grease, oils, liquids, compostable packaging, all are not accepted. And then the new item is your bagged food waste. So food waste includes anything that's edible, and you can, including meats, dairies, So anything you would eat or like leftover bits, you can add as food scraps to your food waste bag and then tie it off, add it to the yard waste. There is a difference here. I know many people would compost at home perhaps, or so there you wouldn't compost meat and dairy and add it. But for this, all the materials are getting processed at an industrial facility, so they can handle those types of materials. It's not just your backyard compost. All right, so we do have graphics and info available in Spanish, and we have a lot more resources available on our website as well. Now this is for multifamily housing. This is the food waste cart. So it's a smaller, it's a little bit smaller than your residential barrels, and it's brown, and they'll just bag up their food waste, and then not accepted any type of compostable packaging, glass napkins, oil, greases. Good rule of thumb is if you can eat it and it's not a liquid, it goes in your food waste bag. So you'll also notice around your community that the containers will change. So SB 1383 also requires standardization across the state of container colors by year 2036. So if you live in a single family home, you may start to see your neighborhood's container colors getting switched out over the next few years. This is just meant to standardize everything across the state and reduce confusion about what should go in each container. There's also a color switch. So tan carts will be switched to green. Blue carts will stay the same for recycling, and green carts for trash will be switched to gray and black. Now there's this big question here about why we have to bag our food waste. So I just want to start out with the Division of Environmental Sustainability we looked over a lot of different options, and this option was deemed to be the best for our community cost-wise and the best environmental benefit. So I can explain a little bit about, our other options and kind of how we came to this decision. So another option would have been a fourth cart, and a fourth cart would just for food waste for all residents. That is a lot of extra materials, as in the carts are quite expensive, and that would have created an added cost to our residents. A fourth cart would also create an additional truck route. So those are emissions and the environmental impact of transporting just that food waste cart. So that would have been a much bigger process and rollout. And a lot of places are already quite space constrained. So that was another consideration. Another option is commingled waste. So yard waste and food waste together without a bag. I think moving on in the future, that's the eventual goal of the program. But at this time, the city is limited by our facilities available to where we haul our food waste and yard waste to. Those facilities are not able to take commingled material. Yard waste is processed separately from the food waste. So overall, the bagged option is our best short-term solution. And in the long term, we are looking into options to reduce the overall environmental footprint of the program and process materials locally. I'll get into this a little bit more, and we can have time for questions for this one. So this here is a diagram of where our waste is taken, and it's starting to resemble a little bit more of a circular process, which is exciting. This is one step of Ventura moving towards a circular economy, which is better for our environment, less waste, less resource loss to our landfills. So your bagged food waste material will be placed into the existing yard waste container. The bags and the yard waste are separated at Gold Coast Recycling and Transfer Station, and then they're sent for processing at the receiving facility. So another facility will process the material. Material must be clean and free of debris in order to be processed at this material. Some material will be processed into organic fertilizer or renewable energy. And due to the need for this clean organic material, the commingled organic material with food waste in the yard waste wouldn't work yet at the current facility. So again, like I said, our material is being processed, and once it's taken, it's processed back into different types of soil products. And we're not losing this material to our landfill where it's just going to sit and degrade into methane gases. So one of the big questions we've got, does the bag have to be plastic? So some of alternatives to plastic, there's paper bags. We actually do not recommend using paper bags. Paper bags material can seep through. And when that material seeps through in your yard waste bin, it will contaminate the yard waste. And then that won't create better processing on the back end. So we do not recommend using paper bags. Other than paper bags, some people have been interested in using compostable or bio-based bags. You're more than welcome to use those types of bags when the food waste is separated and removed from the bag eventually. The local facilities will not be able to process those compostable bags. So even though they are compostable, all of the bags that you collect your food waste in will be sent to the landfill. And then one thing we're trying to encourage people, reuse where you can. There's a lot of plastic around, so there's a pretty good chance you can reuse some type of plastic bag in your house that you already have and use that as your food waste collection bag. I know from, everyone in my division, from personal experience, we do our best to reduce our plastic, but for me, I can still find a plastic bag. Like here's a plastic bread bag here and there. And, eventually I think we're all excited to move towards a plastic-free world. But for now, reuse is the next best option. All right, so now we've come to question time. First of all, I just want to mention we do have a lot more information and resources available on our website. I would recommend looking at that. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so a lot of information there, and you can follow us on social media. We have our bi-monthly Sustainable Ventura newsletter. I recommend following that just to stay up to date, learn about upcoming events and whatnot. And if you ever have any questions, we have our email address, sustainability@cityofventura.ca.gov. So it's a great resource. All right, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can open up for questions.
Thank you. I think you've actually covered a lot of them, but we'll go to the chat. Oh gosh, up top. I've already ran past it. Okay, so the first question was, they were asking about, what about, you addressed about they live in condos and townhouses. Will they start getting those food recycling soon, or should they already have received them?
Yeah, so for multifamily housing units, we are still working to roll out the program. I imagine it's looking like middle of this year. Most multifamily housing units will be moving and getting adopted on a program. So right now, EJ Harrison is working through their entire customer base, including commercial entities, to add on organic services where necessary. You can imagine that is a large task. So this program rollout, we have single family residents done. That was ready for January 1st. And the rollout will be coming through for multifamily housing units. And when that is available at your multifamily housing unit, we do intend to provide pails, informational material to help you get on board in that program.
Okay, and then I think the same thing was asking, is there a public place where people can bring it if they don't have it, or is it just a matter of
a public place where what?
Where they can take the organic waste if they, for example, in multifamily?
Yeah. Well, this is an early sneak peek announcement. We haven't really fully launched this yet, but we are planning on opening up a community composting site. So again, more information will be available. That you wouldn't be able to compost meat, dairy items, but any other food scraps like coffee filters, coffee ground, and like fruit and veggie scraps and a couple other types of materials, but those will be accepted there to a limited number of members. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, we are looking into other options for people to participate.
Okay, and then you addressed it, but Vincent was saying he had an issue with plastic bags, and then why you explained what the eventually will go plastic free. It does kind of hurt to put the food waste in a plastic bag and put it into the green waste.
Yeah, a lot of this is this is a state law, so we have to comply. And it's an interesting law because it's one of the first ones in a long time that there are fines if cities do not comply. So our local facilities aren't quite ready to process everything locally. And I think within, just looking the next few years, I think things are going to be changing. And I think this program is going to look a lot more like what we envisioned it, and what I think a lot of our environmentally conscious residents are going to be excited to participate in, just as it moves towards more local processing, hopefully less plastic, and yeah, better benefits for our community.
Donna asked about coffee filters.
Yeah, we don't say napkins or paper towels or anything you can put in there, but if you have your coffee in a coffee filter, you can add your coffee filter into that.
Okay, and then Deanne, I think you also talked about compostable bags, but the question is, would those work better than, say, the traditional, or at the end of the day, they're all still going to go in the same place?
Yeah, so for the bags, honestly, yeah, your best environmental option is reuse. Just find some type of plastic bag or collect one from a friend who might use or have an extra plastic bag. The small kitchen containers are 2 gallons. So if you would like to purchase some, I would recommend, looking for a 2-gallon container. As for durability, I imagine plastic bags might be the most durable. I can't speak to durability of a plastic bag versus a compostable bag. I'm not sure which ones you might be looking at. The big thing to focus on here is that we are we're avoiding sending organic material to the landfill, and that's a huge environmental benefit. So while the program might not be perfect in every way environmentally, and that a lot of people will be using plastic, and it seems very counterintuitive, the overall end game of this program will create a massive environmental benefit.
Okay, and then the other one was, David was asking, what's the difference between broccoli stalk and grass clippings? Why do you need a plastic bag for one and not the other? And I'll admit, I've thrown some celery into the quite often, as a matter of fact, so.
Yeah, so the green waste gets processed at a local facility, Agriman. And so it's just the processing for each of those materials is actually different. So, if you have a bunch of sticks and leaves, that can be processed into a certain type of mulch or compost material. Whereas broccoli and food waste needs to break down, and it is a lot more intensive in general. And sometimes it's not just raw broccoli. First of all, I would also like to mention food waste prevention is huge. I would say if you're concerned at all about environmentally, even using plastic bags in this program, step 1, you can prevent food waste at home. Get creative with leftovers, freeze things, learn how to properly store items, buy what you need. We have a ton of information on food waste prevention on our website. And then secondly, yeah, it's not usually just broccoli that's thrown in there. It's like broccoli with oils and maybe broccoli with meat, or I'm not sure what else you might put broccoli with. So there is a difference. I understand that raw broccoli and the grass clippings seem like they should go together, but it is processed separately, and the end product which is used is a high quality product. So that is important.
Great. And then Liz asked, how will we get pails at our single family homes?
So starting in December, we packed and delivered pails to all single family residences. I believe there's still some that need to be delivered, but I think Midtown should have been covered.
Okay. And then Pamela had a follow-up in regards to how's Harrison going to separate? How will that be separated and handled during the process?
As in, I'm assuming this is in reference to the plastic bags. The
Yes.
Plastic bags will be manually sorted at Harrison. They'll be pulled apart and separated into, another area. And then that the bagged food waste will be sent to a different processing facility and processed there.
Okay. Bert's question was, do you have a suggestion for single family coffee? For single use coffee makers with the small individual cup size coffee containers?
As in the Keurigs, I'm imagining.
Yes, I think that's what Bert's referring to.
The last I checked, I don't think Keurigs are recyclable. So if you're talking about the plastic container in the Keurigs, yeah, that doesn't go in the food waste. If you want, it would be a great idea to, empty the spent grounds into your food waste container, maybe just a little tap on the side of the container to empty it out. And then I believe I'm not sure what brand you're using. I'm not familiar with Keurigs, to be honest, but I believe most of the small containers are, they go in the trash. But if you look underneath the base of the container, if there's a chasing arrow symbol, the triangle with the arrows, and a number 1 through 7, you can place that in the recycle bin.
Fun fact, Pringles cans cannot be recycled either. They have to go into the trash. So there we go. If the paper is compostable, can the paper be composted rather than recycled?
Yeah, that's another great question. So paper, we still recommend recycling it. Our local facilities that we're sending our food waste to, they are limited. They do not accept compostable products, and even, paper products to be composted. That actually is a more intense processing or just more intense process. So we hope in the future that, we'll be able to collect, commingled material, all organic waste, and we can compost it all, and that the facilities would be able to process all of it together. So that's less separating on our end, which is nice. And that creates a better circular loop. But for now, all paper products should be recycled.
Okay, and then Shri asked, when will the new plant be built so we don't have to use plastic bags?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think right now the Limonera facility, which is local in Ventura County, it is being permitted. So there's been, a mixed bag of answers on a timeline there. We definitely strive to be transparent in our division. And I think, as soon as we have information on timelines, program updates, and ways that you can participate differently, we'll be happy to report that and provide that to the community.
Okay, and then Wendell asked the question, why can't we put organic food waste in the brown bin?
And I'm imagining that's why can't we put it directly in the brown bin?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Wendell, are you on the, do you want to
Still haven't even gotten.
follow up?
Yeah, let me just say that if you eat only organic food, if you eat only fruits and vegetables, if you're a vegetarian, why can't you just use uncooked? If we have uncooked food waste that we would ordinarily I've been putting it in the tray in the brown barrel for years. That's just compostable organic material. Why can't you just put it in the brown bag or in the brown bin?
Yeah, so processing in general food waste from yard waste is different. The products and facilities that you're looking for are also different. So with food waste, it breaks down. And yes, if you're only eating absolute raw fruits and veggies, the argument probably doesn't look as transparent on the outside. And for that case, I would recommend a home composting system. That would be the absolute best bet, or participating in a community composting program if you're not interested. But, this is what the recommendation best practice that we're getting from our facilities that we're sending our waste to. So that's what they can handle at their facility. That's the products they're looking to develop. So food waste doesn't fit in the category of yard waste. And I would recommend not adding food waste directly to your yard waste bin, because it does provide contamination. A certain amount of contamination is probably going to happen. A bag might break. That's part of waste diversion and, the waste collection and recycling process. There is going to be a part of contamination, but facilities can only handle so much contamination. And if a whole entire yard waste bin is contaminated, they won't be able to process it into that high quality material, mulch, compost, or soil products in order to, resell it and put that material ultimately back into the circular process. So, yeah.
Okay, well,
I hope that answers your question.
I just have to say that I believe that the food we're eating, that the products that we're purchasing at the grocery store are less contaminated than the yard waste that has been treated or where certain insecticides or growth products have been used for those items. But it's very confusing to the community. I think that what's happened here is you have a lot of people who are very, who are having difficulty in managing the process. I realize the end goal is something larger, but right now the process rollout has lacked something in helping the community really understand how they can help us be better about managing our waste. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendell.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback. If you want to continue the conversation, please reach out via the email I sent, sustainability@cityofventura.ca.gov. And we can also discuss further, processing requirements and be sure we get all your questions answered.
Okay, Kelsey, the other questions come through. Is the end game that we intermingle yard waste and kitchen waste? How does that work in terms of composting?
So when the Limoneira facility is available, I think there's still some unknowns about that facility and processing. Again, when that's available, we can provide additional information and presentations because there might be some changes. But that is, our division, we want to, separate material, have it be processed locally, and then hopefully used locally because we are a, agriculture county. So there is options to reuse these resources, as in food waste that turns to compost, locally. So I think in making these decisions moving forward, we're going to try and, follow best practice and reduce our environmental impact throughout implementing these programs. But I don't have further information on, what the next 5-10 years looks like exactly, and, what this program is going to evolve and when.
If you did, that's when you go into consulting and make the big
Yeah.
bucks. Okay, so Mary asked, what should we do with damaged fruit that falls from our fruit trees?
Well, hopefully you can eat the fruit, and enjoy it. If not, there are local organizations like Food Forward, and they'll take excess fruit or any excess, produce to redistribute to the community. They're a great organization if you find your garden is overflowing. Other than that, if it's like lemons, oranges, general food waste, you can bag it and add it to your yard waste bin. And then, it'll be composted and turned back into soil products.
Okay, Karen asked if you have an ADU, can you get a pail for the renter?
Yeah, if you can send me an email at that email address, and please provide your address and your name and a phone number ideally, and we'll organize a pail delivery.
Okay, also in the chat, there's a note that Keurig apparently has their own recycle program. So that's just an FYI. And then,
okay, great.
Do we treat tea bags like coffee and filters?
Yeah, tea bags are interesting. There are some tea bags that are actually nylon tea bags. So please do not add those to the food waste, because that's a type of plastic. But yeah, coffee, like the paper coffee filters, you can just add that to your food waste bag.
Okay, Bert asks, how do you suggest disposing of grease from bacon, etc.?
So grease, fats, oils, and greases, shouldn't be a part of this program. Those are technically considered household hazardous waste. I hope many of you already know, not to pour those down the drain as well, because that does create problems in our stressed infrastructure. So yeah, the best way to handle those, we have information on our HHW website. You can collect them and then drop them off at a local HHW event. I think we also have additional information on our website about those types of materials.
Great. And then Mary's following up on the fallen fruit. She's saying if it's moldy or half eaten by birds, would that then go into your food waste?
Yeah, you can add that to your food waste. I just put my email in the chat for someone that requested it. Another thing that we are still promoting within the city is backyard composting. It's one of the best ways to reduce your waste. You're going to reduce, or the transport, environmental cost of transport and fuels used to transport your food waste to a different facility, and then you can use it for your garden. And so I actually lived in Midtown for a while, and I had a little backyard compost, and it did really well there. It's a good climate for it. So I would definitely recommend checking out we have a compost bin rebate program with the city. And so you can check that out and get 50% off of a Soil Saver or Wrigley Ranch. I also have some worms. If anyone wants worms, we can organize a drop off if they're interested in a vermiculture bin. But that's a great option too, for certain types of yard waste or garden waste you might have. You can just process it on site and then create a nutrient-rich fertilizer at home.
Great. And I think last was David said to say excellent presentation. And thank you. It was, I learned a lot, and I'm glad you came. I like everybody else, I probably have that same paperwork, and I'm still trying to figure it out. So I had to lean on my friends that live up in San Francisco and have done it for a decade. It's required by their trash programs. And so there's some great things you can hide off the side of your trash cans now, or wool pins. So it's great, and I can already see my trash load is I'm at least a bag less than I usually throw out a week. So it either tells me how bad I've been dropping food waste or such. But so Kelsey, thanks for pinch hitting tonight, coming in and doing this. So
yeah, of course. And yeah, if anyone has any other questions or wants to schedule a discussion or talk about stuff and just needs to know, you can feel free to email me, and I can hopefully answer any of your questions.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. So
thank you, everyone.
So before we go tonight, we have announcements, and I don't know, Doug, are you still on here? Doug Halter, Councilman?
I'm still here, Greg.
Yep. Do you have any announcements? You want to kick it off for us?
Yeah, I guess the main thing, I think you hit a lot of things in your newsletter already, but is just to remind people that the 10th GPAC meeting, the general plan meeting, is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. and it's going to be discussing the vision statement for our community. So please attend if you can. It should be a really, really good meeting. And other than that, goal setting for the city council and for the city will happen on, the final meeting will happen on January 24th. Other than that, you discuss districting. I just want to remind people that, that's part of the thing with districts, is that every 10 years, the district boundaries will be reevaluated. And just know from, I think I speak for the entire council on this, is that we represent the entire city. We may be elected by a portion of the city, but we will always represent the entire city and what's in the best interest for our entire community, because there are some significant changes that will appear to be happening with the current districting. So just pay attention to that. And then we did discuss ADUs and what they call JDUs, junior ADUs, and approved an ordinance in relation to both those things in the last meeting. And let's see, I think those are the main things. I know we're short on time, so I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Greg.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And then does the board have any announcements? I know, Dan, you have a couple.
Well, I have one. We are going to just pull a few weeds at Midtown Commons. It's not a huge amount, but the place is starting to look nice. The plants are starting to grow in, but along with a few weeds. So on this Saturday at 10 a.m., a few of us are going to go over there. If you have a few minutes, it'd be great to have a few more extra hands to just pull out a few weeds. And I think we're also going to go check out Emma and Main Street and just check up on that as well. So We're gonna meet at Midtown Commons at 10 to bring a bucket and some gloves and just pull a few weeds. Not too long, maybe a half hour.
And then everybody's free to come by my house and continue weeding if you need to. So, do any other board members have any announcements? Not hearing, do any of our attendees have any announcements that they want to make? Well, it sounds pretty good. So anyways, thanks for attending. We'll see you at our next general meeting on February 10th. We expect to get a first look at the, oh, Devin, do you got an announcement?
No, I just
Okay.
wanted to say I'm really excited to be joining this meeting, and I really appreciated all the updates. I am going to be around, and I may be interested in doing some weeding. I'm a big gardener, so thank you all so much, and I look forward to being part of this group.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. And so anyway, so for our February 10th meeting, we expect to have a first look at the residential development being proposed on Vista Del Mar at the lemon packing plant. And so we'll let everybody know when we get closer that if the dates are confirmed. So thank you for coming tonight. A little longer than usual, but I got to tell you, it was a great meeting. So thank you.